Welcome to Action Planning for Retention. What organization doesn't want to keep its best employees? Now notice I said its best employees. This segment is all about healthy retention, or what I like to call right retention. Because you and I both know we don't want to keep each and every employee. Some of them need to be sent on their way for the good of the organization. Yep, there are marginal employees who can be turned around, but that's for a whole nother segment. We're going to explore 7 action steps that have the potential to reverse the tide of turnover and promote healthy retention. Now, a comprehensive plan like this is something that's important for human capital utilization. It's a tool that would benefit just about any organization in any industry. The action plan that we're going to go through provides a framework for strategic development of human capital. Like all organizational change initiatives, this model requires an executive champion, adequate resources, and executive investment. I'd like to start by outlining the elements of the plan, and then we will go into detail. Remember, I'm presenting it like it's linear. In fact, it's iterative, but it's easier to present this way. Let's explore this plan. The first step of this process is to create a meaningful mission. The mission anchors people to the organization, to its purposes, and to its most noble intent. The mission should be more than flowery prose or propaganda. It needs to have significance and be compelling. Once that mission is crafted, it's time to move to the next step. And that's to craft a communication plan to disseminate the mission and the behavioral expectations that support the mission throughout the entire organization. This communication plan guides the creation of dialogue among stakeholders. Notice I said dialogue. This is not one-way communication from on high. It is a way to hear from the people closest to the work, closest to the customer. This communication plan is an important tool that will be used throughout the entire organization. It's an important tool to use as interventions are launched. It's a mechanism for systematically gathering insights and ideas that exist at all levels of the company. You've got to gather data to determine how employees perceive the culture, the climate, and the overall environment. I suggest doing this with a culture or climate audit. I like mixed method audits because they combine focus groups, surveys, and interviews. They give you the most information. This approach will give you a really good picture of your organization. It'll let you look at it from multiple perspectives. Gathering this baseline data will help you to decide exactly what you need to do to help employees develop a positive feeling for the organization and develop some commitment. Data gathering has to be ongoing. That's why it's so critical to regularly assess outcomes, and these outcomes include customer perspectives and employee perspectives. In order to build organizational commitment and to reverse the tide of turnover, you've got to commit to instituting measures that assess stakeholder outcomes and gather stakeholder feedback. This is information that enables you, the leader, to have current, useful information. That's how you'll make your decisions, with current, useful information. The initial and ongoing assessments help to surface the strengths, the weaknesses, and the developmental needs throughout the organization. The data also serves as the launch pad for strategic organizational improvement efforts. The next step of the action plan, the development of a comprehensive approach to human capital development. Yep, I know that's redundant. It addresses the ways in which we enable people to grow. This includes leadership and management development. It includes learning for frontline staff. It includes skill building opportunities for the folks in the middle. Customized, very focused learning experiences are essential. This learning should be directly connected to the organization's mission. It should be reflective of the required competencies for each position and the standards that the organization has set for performance. You'll notice that this step of the plan addresses the developmental needs of all levels of employees. It takes you beyond a minimal investment in developing people to really committing to much more substantive learning for growth. This comprehensive approach to human capital development goes way beyond the learning experiences that I just mentioned. It also includes career paths, mentoring programs, and other strategies that create pathways for employees to reach their highest potential. Moving to the next step in this action plan, instituting employee engagement practices that really create camaraderie and that build esprit de corps. This asks you to revisit the data that we gathered at the beginning of this process. You have to maintain an awareness of the culture and the climate. You have to be aware of the sentiments of employees and any other stakeholders before you can figure out how you're going to tackle employee engagement and commitment. The employee engagement strategies should directly reflect the interests, the abilities, and the aspirations of the employees. They need not always to be formally engaged. They can be engaged informally. Cross-functional, cross-level task forces to accomplish specific goals, that's a fun way to bring people together. Consider things like cross-training and job sharing. This allows employees to move outside of their normal spheres. The final step of the action plan is to monitor external measures. Things like your regulators' inspections, surveys, commendations, things that are written about you in the news. You want to be aware of the organization's position in the larger industry. It's important that you as the leader stay attuned to your industry position. It's equally important to use the communication plan to keep employees abreast of issues and trends in the larger industry. It's also important to understand how the organization is faring at reaching its objectives and fulfilling its mission. Don't forget Glassdoor. It's important to know how your former employees are talking about you. Let's wrap up. The plan I've offered is a comprehensive approach to addressing retention. It relies on dialogue, measurement, and committing to developing employees throughout the organization. While I presented it as a linear progression, it isn't. It's very iterative. There are ebbs and there are flows between the steps. You're going to frequently revisit the data that you collected on how employees experience life in the organization. That's the information that will really guide you in future decisions related to how you as the leader will keep and cultivate your employees. This model is integrated, It relies on reflection and looking at all levels of the organization. It relies on action based on continuous learning and a commitment to helping employees evolve and grow within the organization.